Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Gold bearish despite rise in price. The closest thing I can come to a bear is a buffalo. And silver's eye of the tiger. Let's explore. First, with gold. Gold is seen as still somewhat bearish despite the price movement we've seen as of late. I'm going to be referencing an article here from CNBC. Gold rises as Evergrande fears persist. Market on standby for Fed. Yes, there's been some concern about what's going on over in China. Gold gained on Tuesday as unease over China's Evergrande insolvency spurred safe haven buying ahead of a Federal Reserve meeting that could provide clues on the central bank's timeline for cutting its stimulus to the U.S. economy. Safe haven assets gold has gained on recent concerns about global economic growth, or more specifically, a Chinese economic slowdown, which are enough to outweigh a recovery in equities, said David Merger, director of metals trading at High Ridge Futures. Spot gold was up 0.7% today as of about 2 o'clock this afternoon. The technical picture for gold remains near-term bearish, said Jim Wyckoff, who's a senior analyst over at Kitco Metals. We may be seeing shorter-term futures traders that have been short maybe evening up and doing some short-term recovering ahead of the FOMC. Positive influences from a slip in the U.S. dollars and gains in crude prices were also lifting bullion, Wyckoff said. And that's just it, folks. We are seeing the markets move and reacting to what the Fed may or may not do. I don't think they're going to taper, but there is talk that it's going to be happening. And we'll find out this week to see if that's actually the case. But there's a lot of things working against economic conditions right now, and Evergrande is one of them, or Evergrande. And I think there's other factors too, the Delta variant and the like. And again, I'll talk about that. It's about the market's reaction to the pandemic, not necessarily what's going on with the pandemic itself. But nonetheless, positive influences from the slip in the U.S. dollar and gains in crude prices were also lifting bullion here in the last 2 days, or 2 days here. The Federal Open Market Committee will release a policy statement and new economic projections at the end of its meeting on Wednesday. Some analysts believe it could announce the start of the tapering of its asset purchases in the fourth quarter, which could push gold lower. Reduced central bank stimulus and interest rate hikes tend to lift bond yields, raising the opportunity cost of holding non-interest-bearing gold. So the big question that needs to be answered is, will the current market uncertainty change any prospective timeline that the Fed might have when it comes to announcing a tapering of asset purchases? My guess is it will, and they will not taper. But I could be wrong, but I kind of doubt it's going to happen. There's just too many things that could just snap in the other direction. And if one of those things does snap, then that means it's going to push the economy into a further decline and hit the markets much harder, I believe. And that could spur a panic. And the Fed has on its coffers to lower these tapering, or to taper back. And that could exemplify it or exaggerate it, cause even worse. It's just very fragile. The economy is very fragile right now. And nonetheless, we did see a rise in silver as well, too. Still well under $23 an ounce. And platinum also climbed fairly substantially, over 4.7%. The metals markets, as of the recording of this video, with the market just about to close, we are seeing green all across the board. And I'm going to talk about all of these metals right now. Gold up $10. That's a pretty good climb in one day, just over a half of a percentage point. Silver up almost a full percentage point, up 21 cents. In fact, the gold to silver ratio now is hovering right below 79. So the ratio has increased. I mean, yesterday we saw gold kind of up and then it kind of pushed back a little bit. And that with gold up and silver down, that widened the ratio even more, close to 79. But gold is the more stable of the two assets, but I think both should be seen as monetary metals. But I'm going to talk about silver in a moment here and why it has some potential even at these lower prices and even with the ratio widening as much as it has. Platinum up 45 bucks. Look at that. $960 is the price for platinum in the ask price. Palladium up $26. It's a 1.44%. Platinum is almost a 5% increase. And rhodium had some action today. Yes, indeed, it is up $300. Exactly 2.5% increase there with the bid price at $12,300. Platinum group metals, I think all these metals are kind of reacting to kind of what's happening in China with the Evergrande fears. If the Chinese economy does slip up with this and we start to see a housing crisis there, and that could have wide-reaching effects around really the whole world because they are the second largest economy in the world. And just as our market, too, is very fragile, and the whole world really essentially is a fragile, recovering economy. We'll see how it plays out. But nonetheless, no matter what happens, I believe, and this is why, folks, I am bullish on silver. And it's not, I want to try to be even-handed as far as my predictions, which is why I'm sticking to my $30 an ounce. But sooner or later, and no matter what, even if economic conditions decline, there's going to be initiatives out there by the government and otherwise to try, even if they use modern monetary theory, to get silver back into the game. And the demand for this metal will increase, I believe, really no matter what. Because even if the economy declines, you're going to have government initiatives to bring more uses for silver, especially in the photovoltaics, electric vehicles, and they're going to try to spark an economic recovery by the central planners, which I don't believe is the correct, right way to do it. I believe in free markets, that's the best way to do it. But nonetheless, there is now this prediction that the industrial use of silver, it says could increase in the next 5 years. I believe it will increase in the next 5 years, no matter what, because if it's not the private sector implementing it, it will be the public sector implementing private sector look. And we are looking at here, I got this at my local coin shop. This is the Year of the Tiger, my first 2022 coin. I was shocked and surprised that they had it there. I thought I'd show it off. I'm surprised that they got it as quickly as they did. But here is the new Tiger coin from the Perth Mint. We can see here it is a 40.6 millimeter silver coin. Australia, 4 nines fine silver, $1 in denomination. I thought I'd show this off to you as I talk about these uses for silver. Silver is certainly a metal to watch out for. That's why it's the eye of the tiger. You know what I'm saying? It's down, but it's not out. It can very quickly leap into the forefront and catch up, and I think that's quite a possibility. Will it happen? I'm not saying it will. In fact, many of us, myself included, have been jaded about the performance of silver, and so it's one of those things where, it's like, man, we've been cheated by it for so long. It's hard to imagine that I could just leap up into narrowing the ratio to close to 60-1. But I think that's what could happen. I believe it could. I believe the industrial use of silver will increase in the next 5 years, as this Kitco article talks about. But I also believe that will and could drive prices for silver higher as demand increases. Now, that is a rise in the spot price, but even more so, I believe we could see prices for physical silver products, such as this coin, which I paid $31 for, at a $22 silver price. That's $9 premium on this thing, but this is what's considered better bullion, so it's probably not a bad price for it. But nonetheless, it is something that we will see probably premiums increase too, if the spot price doesn't move much. So in other words, we very well could see silver rise to $24, but premiums increase 40, 50, 60%. And that's where we will see higher silver prices this time. Although I am of the opinion, I'm going to stick with it, maybe it's because I'm stubborn, that I think we'll see silver touch $30 again in the markets, but we'll find out. So this article from Kitco is based off of an interview with a guy named Mark Cruz. It talks about this, and silver has got its usual store of value against inflation, and we certainly see a lot of global headwinds and inflationary pressures for gold and silver, Cruz told David Lynn, who's an anchor and producer for Kitco News, at the Denver Gold Forum. But what makes silver unique is its industrial end use as well. It's a critical commodity in basically moving to a low-carbon economy, in particular solar and wind power. Although wind power I don't think is nearly as efficient as solar, but I digress. Cruz described the many uses of silver in the modern world. Silver has two main uses. Silver has a very high conductivity. It's great for soldering electronics and is used in solar power and wind generation. Something people don't realize is that it has a very strong antibacterial properties. Most in this community recognize that, but nonetheless, silver is also impregnated in sports gear. We see an increased use of silver in the medical field and in water filters, and I think that's only going to increase. The medical field is a recession-proof field, I believe, and so I think that's why you're going to see continued use of silver in that environment, and no matter what the economy does. It's a unique metal. It's a store of wealth. We see it as hibernating metal. That's how I describe it on this channel, but nonetheless, that is kind of what's seeing, and so that it's going to be an increase of use in the next 5 years, I believe, and that really is no matter what. And that means that there's going to be miners out there looking for new silver deposits. I've talked about one company before, and there's others that are out there, a lot of the established folks as well, that are looking for this to try to get silver not only as a primary metal, but also as a secondary metal. So there you have it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below of where the markets are today. There's your news. I want to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe. Eye of the Tiger, baby.